Oscars so white. Wait, I shouldn't say it like that. Oscars so white. So let's start with this. Oscars, or more specifically, the idea of rich celebrities getting in a room to give each other awards for doing things that makes them rich celebrities is a very white thing. You don't hear about many in the urban community that hold Oscar parties. At least I don't get invited to any of those. Urban community is the phrase we use when we're talking about black people, because that apparently is politically correct, according to demographics. Oh, hold on. I wrote myself a note. Be careful how you edit this, Sean. Don't want people to get the wrong impression. Oh. To be fair, let's give credit where it is due. The Academy Awards have actually had a rich history of diversity and honoring it well before many parts of this nation actually did. Hattie McDaniel won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award in 1939 for her work in Gone with the Wind. She wasn't even allowed to sit at the front of the theater with the rest of Hollywood because she was black. 16 years before Rosa Parks would refuse to give up her spot on a bus. It's pretty impressive that Hattie McDaniel was not only invited, but nominated, and she actually won. Hattie McDaniel was great in Gone with the Wind. 75 years later, it's still remembered as a great film. It is pretty racist, though. A Dog Day Afternoon was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including winning my personal favorite, the Best Original Screenplay. Now, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Really good film, really great performances. Al Pacino plays a man who robs a bank so he can get his lover gender reassignment surgery. A sex change. 1976, folks. And that year, Al Pacino was on top of the world. He had a couple big hits you might have heard of. The Godfather Part 2, and Serpico. And he chose to play a man in love with another man who wants a sex change. In 1993, Hollywood's most lovable actor Tom Hanks won an Academy Award for playing a gay man with AIDS in Philadelphia. But on to the racial stuff, because that's controversial, and gays are so 2015. We're still talking about race, guys. Like race. But gays, like, man, we don't even care anymore. We don't even care anymore. And that's awesome. I mean, that's awesome that we don't even care anymore. But, damn, we've been trying a long time with this race thing, friends. We'll get there. In 2001, the Academy made history. For the first time, 2 actors of color were nominated same category. Denzel Washington for Training Day and Will Smith for Ali. It was also the first year that 2 actors of color won Academy Awards in the acting categories. Halle Berry for Monsters Ball, the aforementioned Washington for Training Day. King Kong ain't got bleep on me! Yes, that is my best Denzel impression. No, it's not very good. So progress was on the horizon, but since 2002, 280 actors have been nominated for an acting award, and 40 of which have been non-white, non-European, non-Charlize Theron, because she's African, but she's paler than I am, which says a lot. That is just 14% of all acting nominations. 9 of the 56 winners since 2001 were minorities, and that percentage is only slightly higher at 16%. Because there's 5 nominees in each category, one would assume each actor without any history of, what that movie is, what their performance was, just blindly, each actor would have a 20% chance of winning. And 16%, I would say it's close to the margin of error. Because no one was gonna beat Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. No one was gonna beat Colin Firth in The King's Speech. No one's gonna beat Sean in the yet untitled, soon-to-be Academy Award nominated in 2024, in which I play a black gay, transgendered Holocaust survivor trying to cure cancer and save babies and go to the moon with a speech impediment. That's gonna be the greatest movie ever. Note to self, write that. But of those 40 minorities, I'm not only counting African American, I'm counting Hispanics, African, Asian, and every other non-white, non-European actor or actress. And of the 40, only 19 were actually African American or African British? African English? African not American? What are blacks called in Great Britain? Nothing? People? British? So 19 of 280 actually drops that percentage down to 6.7%. The Best Actor category actually had a pretty good track record after 2001. From 2002 until 2006, there were 6 minority nominees. But in the 9 years since, only 5. Famously, the last 2 years, there have been 0 in all categories. Of the 11 nominees total in the past 14 years, 2 of which were winners. The Best Actress category is the worst performing, with only 7 nominations in the past 14 years. Only 3 by African American women, and 0 have won. Supporting Actor, a bit better, had 9 nominations and 2 non-white winners. But only 3 of those nominees were African American and only 1 winner. Supporting Actress, a bit more fruitful, 13 nominations by non-whites, and it garnered 5 winners. But only 5 of those 13 were African American, 3 of which were winners. To put this in perspective, we have to look at the demographics of the population of the United States. Whites make up about 64%. Hispanics make up about 16%. Blacks just under 13%, and Asians just under 5% of the population. The rest is mixed between Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, and a whole slew of other mixed races. And yes, I know I am completely simplifying, a very diverse nation. In a perfect vacuum of society, the nominations would reflect that, so that of the 280 nominations in the last 14 years, 174 of them would be white, 44 for Hispanics, 36 for Black, and 14 for Asian. 7 for Charlize Theron. And while I won't speak to defend all of them, there are nearly 6,000 members. I will say this, I don't think they are the cause, rather an indication of where the film industry is at the present time. Because the Academy Awards are the biggest events in the film industry in the year, it's a time to look back and reflect on the year in film. They're a reminder that diversity in Hollywood is not where we all think it is, or definitely not where it should be. The problem, I would argue, is not that the Academy isn't honoring great works with nominations. The problem is that those movies just aren't made, and those roles for minorities are just not there. Let's look at the year according to Rotten Tomatoes for the year 2015. The films I'll look at as eligible for Best Picture will be the Rotten Tomatoes top 100 reviewed films. Of those 100, we're going to subtract documentaries, foreign language, and animation. Subtracting those categories, I came up with 60 films. And of those 60, I counted only a handful that had a lead role by a minority. The only notable Oscar-type movies were Beast of No Nation, Tangerine, Straight Outta Compton, and Creed. Yeah, Creed was awesome. 4 out of 60, 6.7%. If we wanted to add films like chi-raq, the Spike Lee movie, Concussion, or Star Wars, that brings our total to 7, and that's still under 12%. Last year, Ava DuVernay was robbed of a directing nomination, as was David Oyelowo. Nailed it. For his portrayal of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. After those two, I can't even remember a minority that's even in the conversation for either of those categories or any others. And that's the problem. For this year, As far as acting goes, Idris Elba for sure. He was great, as he always is. If you watch Luther, that's awesome. He probably should be James Bond. We'll see. Michael B. Jordan I would have loved to see, but I kind of get why he wasn't nominated. Same goes for Ryan Coogler for directing Creed. I think critics had a hard time getting past the fact that it was Rocky VII. The bottom line is this: the film industry is just that. An industry, a business. The people who control the money are not inclined to greenlight a film unless they feel that money can be made. According to the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, the North American film industry grossed $10.4 billion in 2014 and $11.1 billion in 2015. Links in the doobly-doo, because I don't know what else to call it. So remember that whites make up 64% of the US population and 16% Hispanic. How does that translate to movie ticket buying audiences? Whites bought 54% of the movie tickets sold, Hispanics 16%. Blacks make up 13% of the country and bought about 13% of the movie tickets. Asians, remember, less than 5% of the population, but they purchase 11% of the movie tickets. So let's break that down into the dollar bills. For 2015, whites spent an estimated $5.994 billion. Hispanics $1.776 billion. Blacks $1.443 billion. Asians $1.221 billion. If you took all three of the largest minorities of the country and mix it with the rest of the smaller portion, Native Americans or the Charlize Therons, that still doesn't add up to as much as the film industry could make by catering to one primary demographic: whites. And as a business owner, all you want to see is growth in your revenue. Since basically forever, or since 1980 according to Box Office Mojo, links, doobly-doo, the total revenue in the film industry has gone up by billions of dollars over the last 3.5 decades. Profits are at an all-time high, and therefore their business model, whatever it may be and whoever it may be offending, is working. To them, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. My Game Gear, however, is broke, and I need to fix it. It's a pain in the butt. So I bought another one, but that one's sound doesn't work. Thanks, Obama! I hope you don't take this like I'm justifying what the film industry is doing, because that's not my intention at all. We live in one of the most diverse nations in the most diverse time in history, and we should be celebrating all walks of life, whether that's race or gender or sexual orientation or ethnicity or nationality or hair color. When are the redheads gonna get a chance? I'm a brunette. Freaking gingers. There is a time and a place for all of us to share our stories. And I think the key factor for any of these stories to be seen or heard is just getting a chance to do so. 12 Years a Slave won the Best Picture Oscar. It was a great film. It had wonderful acting, a really important story. It got a lot of critical and financial success. In North America alone, $56 million. Worldwide, it grossed $187 million. All that against a $20 million budget, which is nothing. $20 million as a reference for a low-budget film. Times have changed. Realistically, the only thing likely to change is that next year, probably around Oscar season, there may be a push for a couple of extra movies with a black lead or a minority director. I fear that that will not be for the right reasons, though. Not for change or diversity, but rather to exploit the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. And of course, that will be exploiting it for money. Damn, I gotta pick that up. David Oyelowo. For money. Quarters weren't really a good idea.